Liz Wilkinson, would you mind coming to the stage and taking a seat a moment? Liz, I met Liz a couple of years ago, and I'm always very impressed whenever I speak to Liz. Her insights are always incredibly valuable. Liz is a senior career consultant at University of London with an award-winning career, and I'd like to welcome her to the stage. And could I also welcome Asif John? Asif, would you mind taking a seat on the stage with me so I'm not alone? Asif is co-founder of ARGenesis and Board Chair of the IfOA's AI and Data Science community. So please can you welcome both Liz and Asif. I'm really looking forward to your session.
Thank you. It's such a privilege to be here, particularly as I've introduced myself to some of you in informal chat, that I am sort of visiting from another tribe. So my tribe is higher education and careers, but it's an absolute pleasure to be at your professional association talking to so many data science and data analytics professionals. It's also great to have an opportunity to share my perspectives on the topic of solving the skills debt. But I'd like to start out with a shout out for my own data science students. So I have the privilege of being the careers consultant to the Masters in Data Science at the University of London distance learning programs, which means students from all over the world. And I have been so influenced and inspired by their global career journeys and by their insights, and particularly their positive mindset. And it's been super early today to talk to some of the students here today. I'd also like to give a shout out to the earlier speakers who reassuringly, since I'm the outsider, have foreshadowed some of the key points that I'm going to make. So I bring my own angle to it, but I think that I am reasonably aligned, which is a relief. In my role as a senior careers consultant, my professional focus is on improving the odds of opportunity seekers. So that's students, that's graduates, that's also mid-career professionals. But one of the great things about today is we have in this room such a diverse group, not only of opportunity seekers, but also of opportunity creators. In this room we have people creating jobs, creating higher education and curricular and learning experiences, creating training programs, creating policy. Some of you, of course, simultaneously are holding two roles. You're seeking opportunities in your own career, as well as creating opportunities in the career of others. So I'll try and cover both angles. It's already been a really joyful day for me. You're a lovely tribe. But one of the joys about spending a day with data analytics professionals is your appreciation of the power of detail, of the impact of variables, of the importance of nuance. It's so very refreshing in a time of generalised rhetoric, particularly about the graduate employment market. So my approach today is to apply a word change approach to illuminate different aspects of this theme. So we're going to be looking at solving the skills debt. That is what they asked me to do. But we're also going to look at leveraging the skills debt, solving the skills imbalance, solving organisational debt, and we'll finish with some pointers on how both opportunity seekers and opportunity creators can craft a narrative of how effective data professionals can deliver business impact, some of which I think we've already heard very fulsomely this morning. So let's start with the actual title of this session, Solving the Careers Debt. Despite the negative connotations of the term debt, I think this is a good problem to have. Why do I think that? Because skills debt indicates a dynamic, changing market, the sort of market that opportunities are created, where new job titles are created, where people who are curious and who love learning new things, so that's probably everybody in this room, will thrive. I also really like the word solving, because I think it focuses on moving on with solutions, but there's also an air of evolving and bringing in the future and what is going to be needed there. But with complex problems, as you know, one solution does not fit all. So let's break it down with the help of some job ad excerpts. Job ads, always a great source of data. So what changes when we change one word, replacing the term solving with the term leveraging? Does that increase your sense of agency? I have learnt from my master's data science students the importance of a positive mindset and the importance of curiosity about the new opportunities that might be emerging in response to the challenges that organisations face. And we've heard about some of those this morning. My students understand that if you are going to convey a message of I am a solution to your sleepless night, that you do need to understand what is keeping that manager awake at night. And job ads are a really valuable data set on managers' worries. Next time you read a job ad, ask yourself the question, what is that manager worried about? Key tip. And here I think we can sense that this manager, running a music charity, is worrying about securing future funding and how they can use data to strengthen their funding cases. They're worried about the complexities of evaluating social impact and how, since social impact is a trend that is changing, how they can keep up with the current interpretation of social impact that wins funding support. Now let's pivot like an ice skater. Wasn't the Winter Olympics appropriate? Next session, the half pipe in data science.
Excellent.
But I love the term pivoting, which is why I chose this image. Because when I look at careers, I see them often staying within a broad, sort of, we may say, keeping the metaphor, the ice rink, but people doing lots of changes and often very elegant moves. So I think the ice skater is a great role model to bear in mind. And in order to pivot, and what drives us to pivot, is as we decode the manager's worry and organisational challenges, we need these human skills. In preparing this talk, I took the time to analyse 20 early career job ads, all live this month. And in every single one, I saw sentences like the ones on the screen that emphasised, and we've heard this earlier this morning, about those communication, those collaboration, those people skills. What I think these phrases are signalling is you need great people skills to persuade with the data insights that you are smart enough to create. Smart and charming. This is what it seems to me, and it was reinforced this morning where I think we had some very smart, very charming people showing about how you need that combination to show the impact, deliver the impact of data science. That has always been a fundamental aspect of data science. Understand it, then explain it. But this is where, and I think my evidence was shown this morning, the pivot has been on the emphasis. I'm sure many people in the room, you have learned some technical skills that were hard to learn. If it's hard to learn, we tend to value it more. If it's concrete, we tend to value it more. If we value it more, we talk about it more. Often, we will talk about our hard skills more than our soft skills. There's some sort of internal ecosystem here. So I think we need to pivot our approach and showcase those human skills of collaboration, persuasion, creativity, and adaptability. As opportunity seekers, we need to develop and showcase them. As opportunity creators, we need to send very clear messages about their value, both in academic assessment and in recruitment assessment. Moving now to organisational debate. Any managers in the room? This is probably what it felt like on Monday morning. Both individuals and organisations feel off kilter at the moment. These are times of great socio-economic and political change. And we job hunt better when we focus on the organisational challenges rather than our sense of our inadequacies. We create better opportunities when we focus on the bigger picture and think about what the future may need. Jobs exist for one reason only, to keep organisations viable. And to make an effective contribution to that viability, you need to understand the specific sector context. I'd like to give Sumit a shout out here for talking about domain fluency. You need to be bilingual in not only data analytics speak, but also to speak health, or e-commerce, or go-to-market, or finance. And also, because even in the tech centre, lots of people are slightly worried about AI, its risks as well as its opportunities, the thought that your competitors are deploying it better. So, as a theme of this morning, we need to be able to demonstrate that our AI literacy is nuanced, that word again, and is balancing the risks and the opportunities. So bringing it all together, how can we solve the careers debt and leverage the organisational imbalance? So first to the opportunity seekers in the room. You will get your next job because somebody thinks you can help them solve a complex problem that they are worried about. Help them sleep better. That problem may well involve the risks and opportunities of AI, but it will be located in a domain. Everything lives somewhere. So balance that AI literacy with that domain fluency. Organisational problems are your opportunity to solve the skills debt by recognising, evidencing, showcasing your human advantage in handling complexity, handling conflict, handling uncertainty, and delivering, and foreshadowing something we're going to be looking at later, judgment, accountability, and trustworthiness. And for those of you, like me, who are opportunity creators, where does our responsibility lie? Let's go back to that data analytics skill of nuance. No situation is black and white, not even the current graduate recruitment market. So let's lend our effort to empowering opportunity seekers to be curious. Today has been a great example. To encourage the development and showcasing of the broad human skill set, and we've heard plenty of encouragement for that. And to foster a talented tribe of bilingual data analytics professionals who can speak their data insights persuasively to the power brokers in their domain. It's been a privilege to spend the morning with you. I'm looking forward to the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Right. First and foremost, just thank you for IoA for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to sit and talk about some key questions that have been raised. Before I start, I just want to clarify, how many graduates are here? If you don't mind, if you're comfortable raising your hand, it just gives me an idea of the audience. Okay, cool. Right, cool, excellent. Right, this is it. Right, I think you know about me, so I won't go into my side. I think before we even start talking about some of the questions, we need to be kind of recognizing and taking a step back, about really, the roles are not changing. The roles are still going to be there. That's really important to recognize. So your roles are always going to be around. What's changing is more around the tasks around the roles. And that's where you've got to really equip the different types of skill sets within that and harness that further. So don't be too sort of, this AI is coming out, what's going to happen? The roles are still going to be there, but the tasks around that, wrapped around that, will change quite a lot. I think that's important to know, the before and after. And now that AI's come into it, there's going to be a lot more sort of repetition of work being done on the heavy lifting side of things, which I've mentioned earlier as well. For example, if I can move to the next slide here. So traditional roles, data cleansing, basic reporting, operational analysis. So data cleansing, simple things. I think everyone's familiar with motor cars, if anybody drives cars or gets assured. So data cleansing could be, someone may put an age, they may put a date of birth. There's a lot of sort of feature engineering behind that scene. A lot of that now, heavy lifting, is going to be where AI comes in. So that's where the tasks change, yeah? Whereas previously, it would have been a different type of role and skill sets that you use. So I don't think the roles change, but the tasks will change around that. That's just one example. Reporting. People are traditionally maybe used to sort of static reports. Nice example Clay gave earlier about a static report. Things are changing, so we have to be able to shift and recognize that the fact that AI is going to take a lot of the heavy lifting for us all. And that's why it's really important to recognize this side of things as well for us all. And that's why all the AI analytics will do a lot of the work. So, yeah, just to sum that up very quickly, tasks change, not the roles. I think what we could talk about now is the higher educational side of aspects of it. So I think we need to be very careful not to isolate ourselves for too much on tools and still continue learning these tools, and there's lots of new tools, but simultaneously learn your skill sets as well. And when I mean with skill sets, math, statistics, and other elements, critical thinking side of things, yeah? But what will really start now is portfolio-based skills you need to learn, looking at real kind of problem solving. There's all good theoretical side, but how do you apply it in the reality? And that's what's going to be really changing as well for yourselves. If you're able to embrace on how to apply a real problem, then you're more internally, on the softer skill sets, more comfortable articulating it as well, right? So your cortex, meaning your nerve system, is a bit more at ease as well. So that's from a softer side. So working with real problems is more is a way forward, I would say. Especially we're now in the new era of AI. You'll be very overwhelmed at how much it's changing in this context, yeah? So there's a lot more I can talk around that, but that's in this context as well. So higher education-wise, I think, as I rightly said, teaching tools without context is not there. Still build your foundations in your maths, and do more sort of portfolio-based learning. Real problems, solve the real problems. Because what that does as well, in a subconscious pattern, it trains your brain to become more of a, how do you solve problems with a theory. It gives you different ways of how you correlate different problems in different ways, yeah? It's epistemology, meaning expand your brain cells, not from a typical theoretical side. Again, very similar, where we're talking about, we're in the new era. I've just used Gen AI as one of the artificial intelligence components, but there are different side. But a lot of the heavy lifting is now done. You've got these different tools. I call them my friends, Claudia as an example. But, that does a lot of the heavy lifting now. So what, you shouldn't be focusing on that now. You should be focusing on, solving, dealing portfolio, dealing with project, demonstrating your reasoning behind it, yeah? So this will really help for the sort of early stage, and then it leverages them to do more case studies around it. And that's how you can then present yourself a little bit more stronger as well. But I'm happy to kind of talk about, so we're a company ourselves, so just to give you an example. So what we look for is not just a competence base, but we're really looking for the kind of delivery of some of the competence questions we ask them in real problems, yeah? That's one thing we look at. Another thing you've got to be mindful of, it's not one dimension. What I mean by one dimension, it's not necessarily okay, you've got this skill set. It's also your personality, your softer skills, that you fit the culture. So don't think, it's not just a simple one dimension. You just got to learn this and that's it. You get a job. You've got to really be multi-dimension. Yeah. And as humans, we are not one dimension designed anyway. So if you look at so you have to just be really having a bit of a balance of both of these things around us, if that makes sense. I think one of the other things I would say to be mindful of is that you can, it's like preparations of your, whatever you prepare, you've got to prepare in advance. As long as you're prepared enough, you become more confident in how you articulate your information as well. And that's important as well, because that's being careful of your kind of nerve system as well, making sure it's at ease, because that's what you bring the best version of yourselves as well, if that makes sense. So I hope I think I've covered all my questions. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Asif. Thank you both of us.
The question was to the news that there is a company in the Bay Area which is $1 billion valuation, but it's only the chairman or the CEO or the founder. Now, does it mean that AI is not affecting jobs, or it is affecting? Because if I can, in fact, I'm thinking of myself that removing certain people in my company and replacing them with AI agents. So how is it that it is not affecting jobs? It is.
That's quite a big question for any of you to answer. I wonder if, I think one of the things people are concerned about is that the first rung of the career ladder has disappeared. Should we be redesigning that first rung of the ladder? Should we be redesigning jobs, or should we be retraining? Given that we do have the 3-person unicorn over in California, in some areas. I wouldn't say it's every area. Yes, go ahead, Liz.
Shall I take this one? So this is if we are going into another recession, this is my 5th recession in my career. So 5 times in my career, people have told me that there were no graduate jobs. The market does undulate, but so I think that's the first thing to say. It's often driven far more than economics, than technology, but they always blame technology. So, and I also think there is an obsession with what's happening in the Bay Area. Startups and tech is very glamorous. And so therefore I loved the comment about steel manufacturers. The labour market and the job market is much more diverse than you would ever believe from mainstream media headlines, which focus on the FTSE 100 and the glamorous stuff. So I'm not ignoring that we are in a time of economic challenge, and that affects all of us. But however, I do think that there are still, I found very easily 20 entry-level graduate jobs that required no experience within data analytics in about half an hour. But I think what's important is that many of them will be in end users. And so I work with a whole set of tech portfolios. And so I often get asked the question, is it any point me becoming, studying software, because AI is going to do all software? And time again, tech professionals tell me, you've got to be able to use it. Actually, your business fluency is becoming more important. Your ability to work in transdisciplinary skills is becoming more important. And I hear an echo in that in the speakers this morning. Mm-hmm. So, the market is always dynamic, but bright, curious people who combine the ability, to Claire's point, the ability to understand data and critical thinking is not the same as being able to understand a particular tool. So critical thinking, not being curious about how tech can improve things and make things more efficient, plus some collaboration, communication, and to the point was made about Asif made about the importance of having portfolio and be able to show a little. I think Sumit made that point as well about what you can do.
Mahdi, I wonder if you would like to address this, because you're speaking to your students and they're worried.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, I think so if you want to come up with one right answer for this question, we need to exactly define what's our strategy in which time frame? We are talking about next year, we are talking about in 4 years' time, or we are talking beyond 2030 is the most important. I am on the same page. All screen-based position will be removed for sure. And even not only for entry level, but also for senior level as well. In next 2-3 years, will be. It's not a story only for entry level. But again, industry by industry would be different. As that gentleman mentioned, I know about that company, $2 billion company, actually just one CEO, and yeah. The point is, we are talking about which industry? We are talking about, for example, I don't know, if you are talking about, for example, about one handyman, for sure that one can work for a while, perhaps maybe by 2032 when we can bring a robot completely into the life. But when we are talking about, again, my first point about that entry level, about, for example, any screen-based position will be removed. But as economic firm recently predict, about 95 million positions will be created. What's that about? Most of them is about, for example, managing AI project. For example, about AI orchestration. For example, AI ethics, data governance, and this kind of stuff. For sure, some new position will come. For that position, still we need some new graduate. Just the last point from my side, several times in this session discussed about portfolio. I'm very okay with the portfolio. I know at the moment traditional skills, CV, cover letter is not enough and reliable to judge about one person. But even portfolio is not enough as well. Because normally when we are talking about portfolio, we are talking about portfolio based off the output. My students, I have several smart students, just recently graduate, even they didn't have this opportunity to collect that, to make that portfolio, to bring some case, to bring some actually, to gain some experience. I say combination of, I think so, portfolio based off the outcome and portfolio based off the decision-making process would be the best. Because sometimes I can hire someone, because I'm in business side as well, I can hire someone not based off his output, based off his character, his personality. I can exactly find out this guy has that potential to learn and make the right decision based off the ethical code, based off EQ, and that one is my main selection criteria. And yeah, that's it. I think so.
I wonder if I can expand that just a little bit, because particularly the data scientists who've been on stage have talked about the need to pivot, the need to find, a new role continuously, especially if you've been in work for the last 30 or 40 years, that our careers evolve. So that kind of requires resilience, doesn't it? It requires a very high level of resilience from our young people. Do you have any advice? No. Rosa and yes. Yes, Joelle. Yeah, Joelle. I was hoping you might speak to this.
I think, definitely being resilient and kind of changing with the times, but also not necessarily having kind of one idea in your head about what that job should be. That's definitely the trap I fell into. And luckily, I did get a data science role, but looking back now, it didn't really matter what that job title was, especially when I first started out. There's so much, when you say the word analysis, there's so much that comes under that. Is it a data analyst? Is it business analyst, operational researcher, data scientist? And there's so many transferable skills between all of those professions that sometimes you can narrow yourself down a bit if you're kind of dead set on being a data scientist from the off. Just from my kind of personal, like looking at the jobs across the civil service in particular, there are very few junior data scientist or data engineer positions, but I see more in the stats analyst professions that are more at that junior level. And starting out with that and getting some of that experience, you'll get a lot of transferable skills that might mean that you could get to that data science or data engineering role down the line. And you've got lots of time. You've got lots of time to figure out what's the right thing for you. It's all very different as well. Would you prefer to be sat at the computer kind of in your code, or do you want to be talking to people? Do you want to be making dashboards, or do you want to be building AI models yourself? All of those will mean that your day looks very different. So trying some of those things out and seeing what you actually enjoy, what you get kind of value from and satisfaction from for yourself, I think is a really key thing, and just trying it out and seeing what comes next. And yeah, even the same job title could mean very, very different things in different companies and even in different teams. I think a data science role that I do is probably very different to some other data scientists across government. So yeah, trying out those different roles and just seeing what works for you really, I think would be my advice.
Yes, please.
And if I can jump in, I had similar experience. I started very niche. My first role, I just was hired as a statistician, and my first role was in like cardiovascular disease. It's like, I know nothing about that. I did the statistics. It's like, what am I doing here? But the fact that I was a statistician there, doing the methods are the same. As far as you see data there, like, hold to that opportunity. And then once you're in the opportunity, you have a lot of like, well, I guess depend on the place where you work, but you usually can stretch your work and make it, shape it to what your interest and what you want to develop in the next one. So it's like anything that does with data, but usually, like, you got some power once you're in the role to make it what you want to be next.
Sumit, are you redesigning work for your team? Is it business as usual?
Partially, yes, because as I mentioned in my session, right, nowadays whenever stakeholders come to me, they're not coming up with a solution, right? And when they come to me, I'm also asking them to reframe their questions. I was talking with someone in the hallway where I mentioned the issue isn't that AI is taking the job, right? You have to think of AI is giving you the solution. We as an analyst, we are the one who's framing the problem, right? If you can frame the problem in the right way, think of AI as your body. It's not replacing your job, but think of AI as the solution giver. Because 5 years ago, we were as an analyst, we were on the right side of the table, where stakeholders were on the left side, we were giving them the solution. Yeah. Nowadays, we are sitting with stakeholders on the left side, where we are working with them to reframe the problem, whereas the solution is partially provided by AI too, right? So, yes, we are redesigning how we work, but that doesn't mean that we will be out of the job right away, right? As someone mentioned, right, like even for entry-level graduate, one tip I would have is focus on reframing the problem. Just don't chase the solution. Part of the solution is being given by AI. How are you defining the problem? Because AI is only as good as the question that you're asking. If you can't reframe the problem, or if you can't work with your stakeholders and reframe what they're trying to ask, yes, AI is not going to be helpful, and your job is not going to be of any use then.
Sorry, I'm asking all the questions. I think we have time before lunch. I'm sorry, we are running out of time. We have time before lunch for one more question. There's our winner.
My name is Loughton. I've recently just graduated, and I have very recently gone through this process. So I think it's rather relevant that I gave my 2 cents on the issue. There's a host of things that have been discussed here, something about portfolios and all sorts of things about the industry changing and how, the reaction to the first rung of the ladder disappearing, sort of. Having just gone through this myself, I did have the challenge of navigating this. How do I strategize so that I could optimize my chances? And that was a question I had to ask myself a lot. I have a first degree in computer science. I have a master's degree in business analytics and AI. It's from a very good university, yet I'm applying to over 120 jobs. This is a real story. In 3 months, and I got nothing. For 3 months, 120 applications. I have a spreadsheet if you want to come and check. It's over here. And I got nothing. And as time went by, what I did realize, and I'm very happy there was someone alluded to the fact that you need to be resilient, is that you also need to be rather strategic. And I'll say this to the graduates who are going to face this challenge. You need to be a bit strategic. What I have found is doing what I did and just having a wide berth and applying for every random opportunity that you find isn't exactly optimal. It burns you out. You have all this time you would commit to tailoring your CV, to preparing for an interview, all of the, the entire 6 miles. Whereas what I found is, instead of trying to tailor yourself to the job, look out for the jobs that are playing to your strengths first. And so that should be the first filter through which you look at the market. And it's, what exactly is it about this role that suits me? And so that already, without you even realizing, differentiates you from all of the other candidates. Because whilst everyone else might have a shiny CV that's been decorated by AI and all of the punctuations are correct, when you eventually are identified, and of course there is the fact that applicant tracking systems are doing a lot of the work with the CVs, and you do unfortunately need to optimize your CV for that purpose. When you eventually get to the front of the interviewer, there are things that simply signal your suitability for a role that just can't be, it can't be designed. You can't buy it. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. And so if you, from the beginning, from the go, have set your sights on roles that are aligned with your strengths, then you don't have a problem selling it. Another thing I would say that helps differentiate you, apart from tailoring your CV to the application and getting jobs that you would be suited for, would be that the portfolio thing is rather important, because what I found as well is that increasingly, because interviewers realize that 1, skills can be trained, and 2, skills can easily be automated with large language models and the like, they just want to know that you can speak the language. Do you understand what's going on? They know you don't have domain experience. They know you might not, you have the raw materials, but can you speak the language? Do you understand the fundamentals? Are you savvy enough to walk into a room and they'd ask you the most basic questions? And I say this because I interviewed at a multinational and landed the role, to my surprise and pleasure. But then you really just need to be asserted, or to be confident that you have a solid grasp on the basics, and then all of the additional stuff that will be layered on top of that can be trained into you, or can be augmented by AI, and what have you. But you need to play to your strengths. You need to optimize your application towards, being visible, because there's thousands of people applying for one job. And, I spoke to PwC. They had 12,000 applications for one role. So they had to reject 11,999 individuals to hire one person. I'm not sure who I feel worse for, the people who are applying or the people who have to go through 12,000 CVs. It's a terrible situation. So you do need to optimize, you do need to present yourself, you do need to have a portfolio, show all of the skills. It doesn't have to be work experience that you gained doing whatever. It could be things like I did, the assignments that I had at university. I put all of them on this website that I designed with Versal in a matter of minutes. And I explained my reasoning, I explained my role, I explained what I had to contribute to all of those projects. Even the ones that were group projects, where I basically sat down, did nothing for 3 weeks, and had all of my friends do the work for me. You say these things out loud, it's true, because it's not all the time that, sometimes the project doesn't play to your strengths, and you understand that there are people who are better at, I wasn't the best math guy on my team, and there were people who were better, and they do the math, and I do what I was good at, and it worked out for everyone.
I wonder if any one of our panelists have a 1-minute response to those 11,999 people who didn't get the job with PwC.
Yeah.
I wonder if any one of our panelists have a 1-minute response to those 11,999 people who didn't get the job with PwC.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First of all, I think so. Based of you explain, you are not you are not lucky, because why not? Because I think so. At the moment, the economy is down. I can understand. You know a lot about. Based of you explain, you know a lot how you can generate value for the company. The CV is one part of that. Portfolio is important. You should exactly explain. I have this potential. I have this capability to learn. You know all of them. Just the direct answer and short answer for that one, why 12,999 reject, is just because of the economy, I think so, and nothing else, because you know a lot at the moment. You know exactly how to generate value for the company. That one is at the moment is important, not actually commoditized algorithm, not actually talent at the moment, is available everywhere.
Liz, you were going to say something.
So, of those 11,999, over 10,000 of them would have been poor general applications who aren't very interested in PwC or the domain or how their business is going to need to transform in the future facing. Lots of girls wanted to marry Prince William. You know, date the person you're interested in.
Right.
Well, I think that's a great piece of advice to end on and go to lunch.
Okay, let's
Just add a little thing. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think exactly the same kind of, keeping that tailored as much as possible. For the civil service, most of the time you'll have to put a personal statement that will be 1,000 words, and some people do it like a cover letter. Hi, I'd like this job, bye. And you've got 1,000 words to use, and taking that time to really understand the company, and it's like dating, making sure that not just do they like you, but do you like them, and is that the right company for you, and really taking that energy that you have and focusing it more rather than that general let's apply for loads of things and see what sticks.